In a world obsessed with heroes, one humble crimson fruit stood poised for greatness. Get ready for the epic tomato saga. Our story begins in the dramatic landscapes of the South American Andes, thousands of years ago, where our hero was just a tiny, wild, slightly anxious berry.
I planted a seed, not whatever this is.
Even before the Incas, clever early civilizations started noticing its potential. They thought, this looks interesting, maybe not poisonous. Fast forward to the magnificent Aztec Empire. They were the first to truly embrace it, giving it the rather clunky but iconic name, tomato. And what did they do with their tomato? They cooked with it. The very first salsas were born, probably sparking some very spicy Aztec dance parties. Enter the Spanish conquistadors. Always looking for gold, they stumbled upon this vibrant fruit. Looks shiny, let's take it home. They didn't know they were carrying culinary gold. Across the vast, often turbulent Atlantic, our plucky tomato made its perilous journey. Probably got a bit seasick, but held on for dear life.
Pomodoro.
Arriving in Europe, particularly Italy, it was an instant visual hit. They called it pomodoro, the apple of gold, because, you know, it was golden and apple-ish. Fun fact, the first tomatoes in Europe were actually yellow. Over time, through cultivation, they gradually transformed into the vibrant red we know and love today. But then the panic. Wealthy Europeans ate off pewter plates. Tomatoes are acidic, and the acid reacted with the lead in the pewter, causing lead poisoning. So, for centuries, the tomato gained a terrifying reputation as the poison apple. It looked delicious, but everyone feared it would turn them into, well, a very sick version of a fairy tale character. And for ages, people debated, is it a fruit or a vegetable? Botanically, it's a fruit, but culinarily, that's where things get juicy. Since eating it was a no-go, the tomato became a garden superstar, a purely ornamental plant adorning stately homes and charming window boxes, basically the most glamorous garden gnome you could imagine. In France, they called it the pomme d'amour, the love apple. Sounds romantic, right? Wrong. They still thought it was poisonous, so they just used it as a romantic, deadly decoration. Tragic.
Is this truly safe to hold, monsieur? It feels so forbidden.
It just sits there, mocking us.
Be careful with that fork, lest it burst its venom.
Across the pond in America, things weren't much better. People were just as suspicious, maybe even more so. It was practically considered an alien fruit. Imagine reading in your local 18th century almanac, beware the perilous plant, known to cause inflammation of the appendix and other dire ailments.
Perilous plant. Danger ahead, he mutters. Good heavens, a killer tomato?
But then came the hero we needed. In 1820, Colonel Robert Gibbon Johnson of Salem, New Jersey, decided enough was enough.
By my
It was time for a show.
I declare this the greatest tomato harvest the world has ever seen.
Before a gasping crowd of 2,000 people, he declared, I dare to eat the poison apple. And then he took a bite, a big, juicy, historical bite. Everyone waited for him to keel over, but he didn't. He just stood there,
Look at him.
perfectly
Like
fine.
nothing even happened.
Probably feeling pretty smug, actually. And just like that, the myth began to crumble. One brave bite changed everything. The tomato was no longer a feared poison, but a culinary curiosity. Nowhere was this more celebrated than in Italy. Suddenly, those apples of gold were being mashed, simmered, and poured over pasta. A culinary renaissance. And then came the ultimate destiny, the Neapolitan pizza. With San Marzano tomatoes, mozzarella, and basil, it was a flavor explosion. The tomato had found its true calling. But wait, there's more. What about ketchup? Believe it or not, the earliest ketchups weren't even made with tomatoes. They were mushroom or fish-based.
There's only room for one classic around here.
But the customer ordered the fish special.
When tomato ketchup did arrive, it was initially sold as a medicine. Yep, a cure-all elixir.
The ketchup elixir, freshly bottled. A spoonful a day keeps the blues away.
Ketchup, Doctor? Are you quite sure?
With the rise of industrialization, canning became popular. Suddenly, fresh tomato flavor could be enjoyed year-round, everywhere. The tomato was officially a global superstar.
The judgment of this court is final. Case closed.
In 1893, the U.S. Supreme Court actually weighed in. For tariff purposes, they ruled that tomatoes were legally a vegetable. Fun fact, Ohio and California are massive tomato producers. But the tomato capital of the world title often goes to places like Jacksonville, Texas, or Leamington, Ontario. From tiny cherry tomatoes to giant beefsteaks, yellow, green, striped, black, there are over 10,000 known varieties of tomatoes. It's a full-on tomato fashion show. Finally, the love apple got its true romantic redemption. Today, what's more romantic than a candlelit Italian dinner, complete with fresh tomato sauce? Nothing, that's what. And it's good for you. Rich in lycopene, an antioxidant that gives it its red color and fights off bad guys in your body. It's basically a tiny edible superhero.
Achoo.
Growing your own tomatoes? It's a rite of passage for gardeners. Watching those little green fruits turn gloriously red is pure magic, and sometimes a little maddening. Today, the tomato is an undeniable global staple. From Mexican cuisine to Mediterranean dishes, Indian curries to American burgers, it's everywhere. Want a truly out-of-this-world fact? Tomatoes have been grown in space. Yup, astronauts get to enjoy fresh, space-grown tomatoes. Talk about high-flying produce. And finally, for sheer, unadulterated madness, Spain's La Tomatina Festival, the world's biggest food fight, where thousands of people hurl tomatoes at each other. Don't worry, they're overripe, mostly. What a journey, from a tiny, feared jungleberry to the star of the most epic food fight on Earth. The tomato has truly seen it all. Often taken for granted, always there, adding that burst of flavor and color. The tomato is the unsung hero of our kitchens. So next time you bite into a fresh slice or slurp down some glorious sauce, give a silent round of applause to this incredible fruit. It's had a rough past, but the tomato got the sweetest revenge of all, becoming utterly, universally delicious. Take that, pewter plates. And the journey continues. With new varieties and sustainable farming, the future of the tomato is as bright and red as ever.